The CRPC states about cognizable and non-cognizable offense. Now, cognizable offense is an offense which is cognizable, and cognizable case is a case which is cognizable in which the police officer can investigate and even arrest without warrant. Police officer can investigate and arrest without warrant and without any order from a judicial magistrate. So here the police officer can investigate into the case, can arrest without the warrant. Now, in non-cognizable offense, which is popularly known as an NC in the common parlance, the non-cognizable offense, the police officer neither has any authority nor it has any duty to investigate, and obviously when it cannot investigate, it cannot also do the arrest. So what the police officer can do in case of a non-cognizable offense is that where there is a separate register for non-cognizable offenses, if any person goes, he can enter the detail in that non-cognizable offense book and he can refer the person to the magistrate. Then when the magistrate will say that okay, to the police that okay, now you should investigate into the matter, then he can investigate. Then when the magistrate will say okay, now issues a warrant, and then he can arrest the person. He cannot arrest without warrant in non-cognizable offense. So in non-cognizable offense, it is not the duty nor the police officer has any authority. It can at the most, if he thinks that there might be some cognizable offense might have taken place, he can at the most do some preliminary inquiry, and then if he is satisfied that there is a cognizable offense, then he can proceed with the cognizable offense. Otherwise, the CRPC states very clearly that he has to go to the magistrate or police. If he goes to the police, then police can enter the details in the NC book and then refer him to the magistrate. So now, which are the offenses which are cognizable offenses and which are non-cognizable offenses? Well, all the offenses which are mentioned in this Schedule 1 of the CRPC are cognizable offenses, and which are not mentioned are non-cognizable offenses. Unless and until some other act which has passed or other act makes any act as a cognizable offense, then that's a separate thing. So now the thing is that what is the criteria? What is the general criteria? So generally, every offense which is punishable with 3 years or more are considered to be cognizable offenses. So any grave offenses such as murder, robbery, dacoity, all these grave offenses are cognizable offenses, and it is the duty of the police officer in such offenses to investigate, and it can arrest without warrant. Now in case of even though there is this 3 years or more punishment is the general criteria, but there are certain offenses which have more than 3 years punishment, but still they are non-cognizable offenses. For example, offenses related to marriage, adultery, bigamy, etc., even though their punishment is more than 3 years, but they are still considered and they are not put into the cognizable offenses. They are still non-cognizable offenses. So it is because these offenses are very private in nature. It will be undesirable situation to give police the authority to investigate such personal matters of the people without, you know, any authority from the magistrate. So then there are some offenses related to suppression of the evidence or making wrong and fabricated evidence, etc. Even though these offenses are very grave and punishable with more than 3 years, but still they have not been made cognizable offenses because these offenses are committed in trial and judiciary is directly involved in this. So it will be very undesirable to have a police interference in such matters, and hence these offenses are excluded from the cognizable offenses list in the first schedule. Then similarly, there are certain offenses which are punishable with less than 3 years, but still they are made cognizable offenses. For example, offenses related to spoiling water in the springs because it involves, public safety. Then adulteration of food and causing any virus or any disease to be spread, or offense against women in section 509 of the IPC. Now certain offenses are such, this kind of offenses are of such nature that it will be very undesirable that a private citizens in their private capacity investigate and into such matters, and it is very much desirable that police officers investigate into such matters. So this is the general criteria now, but the problem that with this classification of cognizable offenses in the first schedule is that some people say that it is very difficult for to expect that the police officer will remember all the provisions and all the offenses in the first schedule by heart, and it's very natural. Even for a normal person it is difficult, and even for for police officers, etc. So there has been this apprehension about it, but more or less that is the thing. Any offense in the first schedule is mentioned in the CRPs is cognizable, and then whatever we discussed while ago is the general criteria, and then we have to check the first schedule of the CRPC. Now while because legislation is a constant thing, and constantly new laws are made, and a lot of social welfare legislations have been enacted. Now while enacting certain legislations, certain like offenses, like certain social welfare legislations like prevention of child marriage act, etc., it's also made that For the purpose of investigation, the police officer can investigate as a cognizable offense. However, the arrest cannot be made without the order of the magistrate. Similarly, in certain offenses like 376B and 376C. Now, in 376B, for a rape of a married woman after separation, it is made cognizable only on the complaint of the wife of the victim, and in 376C it is made cognizable, which is rape by a person in authority. Similarly, the offences under 498A are made cognizable only when the person in the 198A of the IPC will complain about it. Similarly, with the new legislation of triple talaq, the offences will be cognizable only if the married woman will lodge a complaint about it, will file a complaint about it. So this is overall the picture of cognizable and non-cognizable offences, and in brief we discussed about what is the general criteria and how certain offences which are even included in imprisonment for more than 3 years are excluded, and how certain offences are which are less than 3 years are also included. So the basic thing, and then when the new laws are enacted, that time also the legislature can mention that the offences will be cognizable or non-cognizable offense. So thank you, and I hope I was able to help you to understand this topic. Please post any of your questions and subscribe and share my channel, and you will get a lot of videos related to the realm of law. Thank you very much.